There are Republican candidates who are realizing I got to run away from Trump or I am going to get crushed. There is one Trump endorsed congressional candidate that has started scrubbing Trump from his campaign website. And we have the before and after pictures, and it is remarkable. I'm talking about Ralph Alvarado. He's the Republican nominee in Kentucky's 6th congressional district. Used to be a state senator. He's a doctor, used to be Tennessee's health commissioner. And during the primary, he was like, I'm all Trump, Trump aligned, I'm America first, and all of that stuff. Trump endorsed him. He ran an ad campaign saying Trump is the only leader that I trust to protect this country. And his website even had him pictured with Donald Trump, smiling thumbs up. But now all of a sudden, Trump is gone. Take a look at this. We start with the earlier bio. It's not even really a bio. It's like kind of a hero image. And what he used to say is President Trump needs more allies in Congress to deliver on his bold vision. I will be that fighter. That's gone. He now has a quote about healthcare. So the mention of Trump removed like a miracle, it's gone. Now, the candidate didn't change and Trump didn't change. The voting intentions of Alvarado presumably didn't change. His assessment of Trump's character and agenda, I don't think changed. What changed is they are realizing Trump is like an anchor for them, and they can ride that anchor to the bottom of the ocean. We then have another image, which was, this is the Meet Ralph part. And what you see is that the before has him standing next to Trump, and Trump has his doofy, stupid thumbs up look. And then they change that. And now all of a sudden, it's just Dr. Ralph, Christian, husband, father, and physician. And all of a sudden, there's no mention of being alongside Trump. And the picture of him with Trump is also gone. Now, this is not altogether different from what happened with George W. Bush in 2008. Some of you may be old enough to remember that when John McCain became the Republican nominee in 2008, Bush was basically missing from the entire presidential campaign because he was so unpopular. Trump is even less popular than Bush was at that point in time. And one of the things that changes from the primary to the general is that during the primary, you can get more mileage out of basically competing to show how much you love Trump. Once the general election begins, you need to start trying to pull in independents. You need to pull in some moderates. You need to pull in Republicans who are rightly disgusted with Donald Trump. So Trump becomes a liability. And so what do? You Photoshop him out of the campaign. The picture with Trump is gone. The mentions of Trump are gone. And Alvarado's campaign is pushing back by, they were asked about this and they go, well, Trump's picture is still elsewhere on our website. All right, I guess you haven't removed him from every corner of your website, but you've certainly removed him from the prominent sections, including your bio. People go to see, who is this guy, Ralph? It used to be, oh, he's pictured with Trump and Trump's doing a thumbs up. So that signals something. Now Trump is gone. He's gone from the bio. He's gone from the picture. And when you think back to 2008, Bush did endorse John McCain. John McCain did accept that endorsement, but he didn't make any campaign appearances for him in the general. And one of the things John McCain did was desperately work to distance himself from Bush, who was so unpopular. And Barack Obama repeatedly reminded voters, McCain supported Bush's positions roughly 90% of the time. That's what I'm reminding you about your so-called moderate Republican representative. Now, Trump has not yet reached the catastrophically low end of presidency approval of 24%, but it is not the end of Trump's presidency yet. So at this point in the presidency, he is less popular, and Republicans are going to sort of be voting not only for their representatives in November, but they are going to be voting for who is going to set the agenda and be the kingmaker going into 2028. And at least some of these candidates seem to be realizing that the affiliation, the association with Donald Trump is not a good idea. They did arguably need Trump to win their primaries, where the voting base is far more radical, but now they need to win over voters who can't stand Donald Trump. And one of the things that Republicans spent years doing is attaching themselves completely. They just gave themselves up like cult members to Donald Trump. You don't get to delete his picture and now all of a sudden you're an independent thinker. You can delete mentions of Trump, you can change the pictures, but your record doesn't change. And Dr. Ralph, as he wants to be known, has a long track record of paying homage, showing cult-like loyalty to Donald Trump, and we shouldn't allow voters to forget that. Now, are there other candidates who will make a different calculation? Of course there are. In other parts, even though Trump is deeply unpopular, there are parts of the country where he is more popular, and there are really red states where you don't. Kentucky is interesting because they've got a Democratic governor, and there are different dynamics at play. So the calculation might be different in a place like Utah or Arkansas or Mississippi, where it's actually much more to your advantage to align yourself with Donald Trump. But the most important point is the more independent the voting base seems to be, the more open to considering who is really working in my interest and who is working to line his own pockets. Voters are willing to ask that question. They are going to be increasingly leaning against Donald Trump, because anyone who really honestly thinks about that question knows that the answer is Trump's in it for himself, not for anybody else. So Trump is being scrubbed. We will see if even more candidates decide to do the same thing. If you get scam calls, texts, or emails, people just trying to sell you stuff or sending you sketchy messages, this isn't happening by accident, because your name, phone number, email, home address, relatives, job history can just be sitting there in a public database, and then marketers can get access to it, scammers, different companies, and then they target you. What our sponsor Incogni does is just get rid of all that information from the corners of the internet where scammers get it. And this includes people search sites, online directories, data broker lists. Incogni will send removal requests to hundreds of notorious sites, and they'll keep just following up. And if your data comes back, they'll get it removed again. What I think is the best is the custom removals feature. This is with the unlimited plan. Sometimes you might find your information somewhere else, some one-off directory or a search result or a business database. You can paste that link into Incogni, and they'll get to work right away to get it taken down. Removing your info from these databases means it's harder for scammers and identity thieves to reach you, and you can get 60% off an annual plan at incogni.com/Pakman with the code Pakman. The link is in the description.